All right, so thank you, Jason, for coming back to Schubas.
My pleasure. It's one of my favorite places to play.
That's so great. Why is it?
Well, when I lived here, I used to do a lot of shows years and years ago. Schubas was always a place that was sort of a no questions asked. If I wanted to do a show, I always had a show here. Great people.
Ah, that's
great sounding room too.
I agree. What's it like being back in Chicago?
Well, it's always a little heartbreaking. It's always. I mean, I'm happy to be here. I mean, I'm so happy to be here. But today I was like on Lake Street, going right past our old practice space. You see everything. It's like it never really changes, even though things change around it. But I still feel like that I still live here every time. And also because I have so many friends and musical connections here, that I really do run into people just out of the blue, and I really feel like, oh, you want to come over to the apartment? Wait a minute, I don't even live here anymore. So yeah, but I do love it. I love the city. Now,
living in London, when you are there and not on tour, how do you sort of bring back that feeling of, have you developed a group of friends or a kind of scene and a...
I have no friends there. I don't really want them. I mean, I've tried. I made it a priority to play music right away with as many people as I could, and it's always a logistical nightmare because often the musicians don't own their own equipment. Like, they don't have a lot of gear, or they don't have a proper rehearsal space, or things that are pretty easy to take for granted in the Midwest, because people find a way to make music at all times of the day and night. And this is a sort of thing where you have to plan 2 weeks in advance, and you have to schlep your gear across town in the bus or the train or a taxi, and you do that just to get your hands around a machine and get someone to bang on shit. And it's just it's like I said, it's a logistical nightmare. And I've done everything to just be like, I'll just bring an acoustic guitar if it just means that we can make music. And it's hard. There's a big hole in my creative life there, because I haven't run into the right people. That's all. And it's not for lack of trying, but here, if you just throw a rock, you're gonna hit probably a quality musician. Just don't hit them too hard. You don't want to break anything.
There you go. That's true. Well, tonight's a big deal though, because you've got the first screening.
Yep.
Not only for the public, but apparently for you.
Yep.
Of recording Josephine. How you feeling as you get ready for the big moment?
Well, first of all, it's not my art. Ben Schreiner, who's the brother of Pete Schreiner in the band, Ben made this documentary just right down the street there at Electrical Audio, and it's interesting because I don't really study up on music. I love music, but I don't read a lot of books and history of it. I have a sort of a vague timeline of how things all fall together, but I want to be in the middle of it still, and I don't want to think about it. So I don't tend to even like music documentaries. But from what I've seen of this, it's just such an honest. I mean, it's a true documentary. There's a little bit of interviewing going on, but mostly it's just fly on the wall stuff. And after about one day of having someone living with you in a camera in your face, if you can trust them and ignore them, it just becomes a real glimpse into your life. It's like getting to see what the mirror sees, and so I'm really excited. Plus, what's one of the amazing things about the documentary is it includes almost every song we recorded there, maybe every one, and so probably half of those songs aren't on the record because they just wouldn't fit. So you get to see the performances of these songs that don't exist anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's a cool project.
That's so great. Now, are there any rules whatsoever on what could or couldn't be included, or any discussions like that?
No, and he did all the editing. Ben did all the editing, and he did all the work himself, and with a little consultation from his brother Pete. Mostly probably for continuity and to maybe he didn't know what song titles were. At the time, we didn't even have song titles for, we were writing the record while the cameras rolling. So, yeah, I mean, other than just in the past when we've done these kind of documentaries, we've never done one in a studio, but we have had, someone follow us around on the road. That was difficult because the approach to that was, well, give us a copy of your hotel key so that we can come in the middle of the night and, film you snoring or whatever. And I was like, no fucking way. I would rather have just locked and I actually did this a few times. I just locked myself in the hotel room until time to get into the van. Because I knew that they would just, they would set it up, they have cameras everywhere. And it just became a sort of like, you felt booby-trapped. So that was just one approach, and the end result was a pretty cool documentary, but they didn't get what they wanted. And so I think we strong-armed them into, you're only going to get this much, because it was just too intrusive.
Yeah.
You have to understand that well, you don't have to understand, but for me, on the road, if there is any kind of downtime, if I'm using the creative part, or whatever's left of the creative part of my brain, because I have to write on the road, and I have to write in very weird circumstances. It's the only way I'm going to get work done if I'm going to tour this much. And there's nothing. I mean, it's so depressing. You do 8 weeks on the road, and you come home, you're absolutely exhausted. If you don't have anything to spark the next creative stretch, it's a nightmare because you feel like you just lost all of that working time. Although you were working your ass off and traveling to God knows where and doing music every night, and that's all wonderful. But I think that as far as throwing down any rules for this one, I think it was a sort of a no-brainer because it's someone that we know and trust, and so we let him do whatever he wanted to do. And there's some really, really funny moments in there that I'll cherish always. I'm so glad. I mean, I don't take a camera with me on tour. I mean, it just becomes too big. I stopped saving things. I keep copies of like the nice posters, and I just have a little archive at the label, and I just send it all to them because I can't surround myself with, in my own home, I can't surround myself with all of the, the mementos of being away from home.
Yeah.
Other than a shitload of guitars and amps in one room in my house, you would never ever know that a musician lives in my house, because that's like a separate working environment. And I close that door, and it's just a normal existence. No rock and roll shit laying around, and it's good. It's just good for my brain.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you're such a prolific writer, songwriter, as well as touring musician, solo and group, as well as recording artist. How do those different facets of your life affect one another and influence one another?
Well, music's never away from me.
Clearly.
So, I'm not a great observational writer. I can't see, a tragic event happen right here in front of me and turn that into a song. In fact, if it's a tragic event, I'm watching. I'm part of that.
Yeah.
And I don't read the book or the newspaper and say there's a good idea for a song, but it's always happening. I really do wake up sometimes and have a song in my head, and I have to race to some kind of instrument or just write down a few lines, because I'm used to having to take things in little increments, sort of lay it out and I really literally do this. I lay out all the stuff I might have been working on for a week on the road if I get 20 minutes alone, and I just look at it like I'm a detective, and I'm trying to figure out what's the most solid lead that I have, and a lot of times it just means pitch and stuff. No problem. Just so yeah, music thankfully it's never away.